And welcome to another episode of Experts Speak. I'm Michael DeLon. Today, I am talking with Michael Petrosian. Michael, thank you for being here and for scheduling me into your calendar.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, you are welcome. This is going to be a really cool conversation. So, Michael, well, I mean, he does so many things in and around real estate, but in today's market with where it is with real estate, he can help people who might be feeling the pressure coming on them of pre-foreclosures or something through a lot of things. So I'm just not going to steal your thunder. I'm going to let you talk to us about it, Michael. But tell me, how did you get to do what you're doing today?
Sure. So about 13 years ago, I used to own restaurants, and I decided that I need to get out of the restaurant business and get into real estate. So I was fortunate enough that I had quite a few friends, investors, brokers that I started working with them, and I always had the passion for the real estate. And so I got into it, and I started finding deals, and I start purchasing properties. But that was a time when the 2008-9, when it was the massive recession in real estate. So I became almost an expert in a matter of a couple of years to negotiate with the banks, to help people to get out of the foreclosure and buy a lot of short sale properties. So from that point on, it just took off. And so it's been 13 years doing the same thing, helping people and stuff. So that's how I started it.
That's great. I love that story. We all have some story to tell about how did it all get started, and that's a great story. Talk to us now about where we are in the economy today, with interest rates really high and values all over the place and people getting stuck. There are a lot of people who might be in a position of the bank foreclosing. Either it's a residential home, it's a commercial property, or whatever. How do you help people like that? What should they be doing if they see that coming?
Right. So basically right now, I wanted to sort of very quickly tell people about where are we at. And because this is very important to understand, and I wanted to explain your audience so they know why is it that things are getting worse. So you've got the pandemic happens, the government comes and pumps trillions and trillions of dollars into the economy. Naturally, when that happens, that's going to create a tremendous amount of inflation. And there's going to be a lot of bubbles. There's going to be a bubble in real estate, stock market, crypto, and what have you. And none of that is sustainable, because if you look at it, because I do a lot of research, right? So if you look at it from March of 2020 until December of 2022, real estate gone up 44%. It's unheard of. It has never happened in the history of real estate. It's not possible. Real estate can go up somewhere between 5 to 7% per year, which is natural. And so people, they can afford to buy it, and then the interest rate, goes up. So when everything goes rapidly up, the same way rapidly goes down. So right now, because Fed has only one tool to be able to fight inflation, which is the interest rate, they're going to continue take the interest rate up. And unfortunately, by doing that, they're going to crush the economy, the real estate and everything, because they want to fight the inflation to bring it down to 2%. Now, because of that, we are aware to see what's going on with the banking. So right now, the banks are collapsing. As a matter of fact, 2 months prior to bank collapse, I did a lot of videos. I warn people, take your money out of the banks, be careful what you're doing, because this is about to happen. And sure enough, it happened. So today, there are two sections of the economy that it has to do with real estate, and it's really bad. So if you go on a commercial side, you look at all the regional banks, that 80% of all the commercial loans are held by regional banks. And most of these regional banks are insolvent. That's one problem, because commercial real estate, what they do, they get a loan for 6 years, and then they have to renew it. So what happens is that commercial is different than residential, because on a commercial, you have to have a cash flow. You have to show the bank proof that you have the capability of sustaining it. So right now, people, right now, as we speak right now, this year, we have $450 billion of commercial loan, which is due. So all in all is $2.1 trillion in the next 5 years. But this year is $450 billion. And guess what? Which bank is going to renew these loans? All these regional banks they're getting crushed, they're getting bankrupt, and they're getting bought up with the bigger banks because that's the idea of it. And so that's one thing that it's going to create a tremendous amount of opportunity and a lot of foreclosures. Because imagine if you had a loan at 3% 6 years ago, and now you go to a bank, they're telling you that, first of all, it's going to be 8%. Secondly, you have 50% vacancy. You don't have an income. So what do? You rather give the key to the bank, say, Mr. Bank, thank you so much, and walk away.
Yep.
So that's the big, huge crash in real estate, in a commercial real estate that is happening right now. Residential, there is a lag effect. It takes some time. Prices has gone down. But the problem here is that a lot of people, they talk about, oh, we're not going to have a crash because people, they have equity. Well, my argument is very simple. Equity, it only exists when you have a capability of getting that equity to come to you. Yep. So if today someone has a house, and let's say it's $1 million house, and they owe $700,000. Before, you could have gone to the bank and say, Mr. Bank, I want to do a HELOC, home equity line of credit. So the bank would come, appraise your property, and say, okay, you know what? We're going to give you 89% loan to value, minus your loan. For example, here's $150,000. Go do whatever you want. But now there is a credit crunch. So banks, they don't lend. And also most people, due to loss of job and loss of income, they have to prove to the bank that they have the capability of doing it. So instantly, home equity line of credit is almost diminished. It's gone. So how can you say you have an equity in your house, which you don't even have an access to it?
Right.
I always say, if I ask you, hey, Michael, how much money you have in your pocket? You go to your pocket and say, okay, I have $100. That's your actual money. That's a physical money that you can go and spend to whatever you want. But in an imaginary world, I have a property that I have $200,000 equity, but guess what? I have no access to it. I cannot access. So that means all of that is just the imagination for people thinking, oh, I have an equity, but in a reality, you cannot access it. And unfortunately, all these massive bankruptcies and all this commercial real estate is bleeding to residential, and eventually it's going to correct itself. Look, the reality is here. The real estate has gone up 44%. That needs to be corrected. Yeah. You want to call it a crash, call it a crash, call it a correction, whatever you want to do. And I tell people that right now, I've been telling people since January, we are in recession. You can fight the word, you can manipulate the word, say, no, we're not because of this and that. But the reality is we are in recession. And I tell people, prepare and just be careful what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. Wow. That painted a great picture. Thank you for all your research and your clarity of that. So as business owners who some have property, some rent property, right? And we all have houses. And so what we need to be looking at are, it sounds like to me, if I'm going to dumb it down, okay? We need to be looking at the banking industry and watch what's happening there. Then we go in and watch the commercial real estate industry, because that's the first step, it sounded like. And then knowing that residential is going to follow. What happened? I mean, is that the right kind of process to be looking out from our perspective?
Correct. And the reason you started with the most important point, the banking, because again, when you have a house and you have equity, who's the person who's giving you equity? It's the bank. Yeah. So if the bank, there is in a credit crunch, they're scared themselves, they don't want to be insolvent, they don't want to lend. So that means you don't have access to the equity. So that's one thing. And of course, you're absolutely right. The commercial, it affects everything else. And then, Of course, because of the banking, there's so many other businesses. You mentioned businesses. Okay, so big corporations right now, they have the highest amount of bankruptcies, higher than 2008. Why? Because the banks, they're not lending. So if you don't lend, the companies, they cannot pay the payroll, they cannot continue. What they do, they file bankruptcies.
Yes.
So it's a chain reaction.
Yes. That's crazy. So what are we to do? What is somebody to do if they find themselves in a situation? Let's say they own
Right.
a property of whatever. It doesn't matter if it's residential or commercial. They own something and they see this and they're feeling the pressure. What are some things they can do? How do you help people navigate?
Right.
What are the options?
Correct. So there are two different ways, obviously, because commercial is completely different than residential. But first of all, one of the things that I always tell people about the banking, my advice to most people is this: if you have money saved up, in other words, if you have money which is sitting in a bank, I personally think you would be better off to take your money and put it in a brokerage account. The reason I'm saying you put it in a brokerage account, there is a very specific reason that I'm going to explain very simply. When you put your money in the bank account with BofA, Chase, Wells Fargo, you name it, you are an unsecured lender. In other words, your money that you deposited, you are a lender, which you are unsecured, and based on the contract, they can do whatever they want to do with your money. And guess what? If they lose your money, supposedly you got FDIC, who's going to cover you up to $250,000. So that's the guarantee that they give you. So let's say if today you have $1 million in bank, and if the bank goes insolvent, you are legally going to recover $250,000, right? Mm-hmm. So that's a very big problem. Not to mention that they don't even give you any interest, zero. You're not earning anything. Now, when you go to brokerage accounts, Fidelity, Schwab, whatever you name it, first of all, the money that you put into the brokerage account, Fidelity does not have an access to it. It goes to a segregated account and it's held by a custodian. So now, when you deposit that money, you are in control. You do whatever you want. You can keep it on for example, my advice is government money market account, get 5%, right now even 6%, okay? Or you keep it as a cash, but the custodian has control of your money and they are not going to touch your money. It can sit there, you can do whatever you want, you can invest in stock, you cannot, whatever you want to do. And the beauty of it is that even if you have investment in a stock up to $500,000, you have SIPC and the FDIC, which is you're getting more and more protection for your money, and you are in control. Nobody is in control of your money except you. So that's number one. I tell people, what do you do with your money? When it comes to property, I say that if you have a loan that is in a very good interest rate, right? And if you have the capability of making the payment on time, then keep your home, make the payments, and of course, again, depends on, capability. Are you capable of maintaining your mortgage? Now, if you cannot do that, for a residential side, there are several ways that we can help. Let's say you have a house for $1 million and you owe $600,000. You have $400,000 equity, but the bank is not going to lend you. But now you have a difficulty of maintaining your mortgage. What we do, we have an access to private funds. What we do, we will give you a private fund. We will give you money, not only to cure your default, to sustain your mortgage, and we can give you even a little bit more to hold on to it for about a year or two. Mm-hmm. That's one of the ways, if you are capable of maintaining those payments. The other option is that what we do is we can buy the property from you, okay? You can still get some money out of the house, so you're not going to get foreclosed, and you can move on with your life. A lot of people at this moment, they have a lot of resistance. They think that everything is going to come back and properties are going to start selling again with a high price. But the problem here is that I look at the market every day. I'm in California, and just yesterday, I was researching in few counties. Already in a matter of 30, 40 days, there were about 3,000 notice of defaults added from a couple of months ago. And this is going to continue as the market, as the economy goes even more severe pain, and you're going to have all these bankruptcies, business closures. People, they're going to, feel the pain. So I tell people that prepare yourself, look at your options. You don't have to get foreclosed, because if you get foreclosed for 10 years, it's going to stay in your credit. You cannot buy a house again. If you do a short sale, you can buy a house 4 years later. But then again, you have to go through a lot of process. You have options. Everybody's different, Michael. Everybody's situation is different. We listen to it. I listen to every single person. I tell them the best solution for them, because I'm not here just to buy their property. Of course, I do buy a lot of property, but my goal is to help people. So if you have a property that, you receive the notice of default, and you look at yourself, you say, wait a minute, I don't have the money to pay the mortgage, and I received the notice of default. I haven't made a mortgage in 4 months. All it's going to happen, I'm going to get foreclosed. You have options. If you have equity, maybe you can get some private money to cure your notice of default, and you have some cash to survive for a year or two. Or you can simply sell your property, get some money out, and move on, rather than being foreclosed. On a commercial side, it is more complicated, because commercial side, what we're looking at, first of all, location is extremely important, and also what kind of a commercial property is it? Is it a shopping mall? Is it an office building? Is it a residential? Because each scenario is different. And for example, right now, due to changes in economy, people are working from home. A lot of businesses, they don't want to pay arm and a leg for offices. That's why you see crash, because most of these buildings are empty. I want to give you an example, which is mind-boggling. We looked at the property in downtown LA. It was an office building. This was 2019. Okay. That property, it was appraised for $550 million. That property last month came in a market $146 million.
Wow.
Because it's 80% vacant.
Yeah, unbelievable.
So commercial is a little bit different. Yeah. Still, we look at the commercial properties. Again, we have several different ways that we can buy it. We can help them, but it is more complex. And so therefore, it's not that simple that I can say, just like residential. It's not cut and dry.
But at the end of the day, what I want my audience to understand is they have options. Correct. It's not, the bank is not your only option when it comes to financing, when it comes to refinancing or all of that. If you find yourself head to head with the bank for whatever reason, with a house or an investment property of any nature, you might want to reach out to Michael and have that conversation to go, okay, what are my options? Because obviously you can just listen to Michael. He's an expert at this. He's been doing this quite some time. He could probably rattle off his brain, and I'm guessing like in 5 minutes, more than most of us would know in a lifetime of study, right? So why should you just keep fighting? Because there's not just one pathway to find money, in a sense, really. There's another opportunity here with Michael. Is that a fair summary of that, Michael?
Correct. So, and what I encourage, Michael, is that I tell people, look, if today you have a situation, and not necessarily your house, but overall, let's say you have a situation, and you come across to a friend who says, listen, you can go to so-and-so, you're not going to pay for anything, it's free, take 15, 20 minutes, have a conversation, let them give you their opinion. again, end of the day, all the decision is on you. You are the one who's going to make the decision. What we do, we evaluate your situation and we give you the best option. Am I here to say every single person who calls me, I'm going to be able to do something for them? Absolutely not. Yeah. But for the most part, there is a solution. For the most part, we can help you. For the most part, you don't have to lose your property to foreclosure. In other words, I always tell people, but I had an attorney, he passed away a long time ago. He was a very intelligent man. He said something to me 20 years ago. He says, Michael, 50% of something is better than 100% of nothing.
Yeah.
So, which is a fact. So if you today you have a house or an investment property and you are struggling, you know the end of the tunnel is a foreclosure. Why would you want to go there? Why would you want to be emotional rather than logical? Say, listen, I have a problem. I understand. I'm going to talk to a couple of people. I call Michael. I want to hear what he's going to say. And if I like it, I move forward. If not, it is what it is. But at least you took the right step towards trying to resolving this problem. That's my goal, to help people to understand, that's what it is. I had situations that we bought properties. I had situations that we lent people and they were able to survive, doesn't go to the short sale or foreclosure. And we had a situation that people that were so emotionally attached to their property, unfortunately, they got foreclosed. Because we have to understand, Michael, banks, they don't care about you and I. Yeah. They're there for profit. So they don't look at you as, oh, Michael is a very nice guy, so let's help him out. No, this is the law. You don't make a mortgage in 90 days, you get a notice of delinquency. Another 30 days, you get a notice of default. And in 6 months, you get a notice of sell. The moment you get a notice of sell, your history is done, finished. They're going to foreclose the property, they're going to auction it, they're going to sell it, and someone is going to come knock on your door, say, Mr. Michael, this is my property, please get out. And if you don't get out, they're going to do an eviction. So my goal is to educate people as much as possible, but also let them know, please do not wait for the last minute, because you're going to get hurt financially. Yeah. The sooner you start, the better result you're going to have.
Don't wait to act. I love that, because you have options. And I think that's the message I want to leave my audience with, is you have options. Take action and reach out to Michael. How would somebody reach out to you, Michael? If they're sitting here going, I do need to have that 15-minute call, what would they do? Where would they go?
Sure. So there are several ways that they can contact me. They can always contact me through michaelschedule.com, which that takes them to Calendly, and they can take a 30 minutes, of a Zoom meeting. Can do a Zoom meeting, we can talk. They can reach out through our website, which is michaeldaniel.investments.com. And so these are the ways that they can reach out. And we can definitely, I'm in LinkedIn, I'm very active in LinkedIn. They can message me in LinkedIn. So, and again, my goal is to help as many as people possible, because I know what is about to come. And I always tell my podcast and my videos and my LinkedIn channel, and I always say, this is not fear mongering. Please take this and understand that I do research. I read a lot. I've got years and years of experience. I am a very active investor. So when I see what is happening outside, I want to tell people to be aware so they can make the right decision. And I am hoping that they can, because, nothing happens until something moves. You can't expect things to happen. You can't expect to win a lottery if you never buy a ticket.
Right.
So the same way, you can't have a solution to your notice of default or foreclosure if you're not reaching out, if you're not doing anything. That's right. You got to do something so someone can help you. And a lot of people, they make this mistake, and Sometimes people, they even argue with me, and I always explain to them, attorneys, they are not going to help you. Please understand, attorneys, they are not going to help you with foreclosure. The only attorney can do something for you to the certain extent, it's bankruptcy attorney. That's it. That you can file a bankruptcy, and the reason you do bankruptcy because you want to postpone your sell date to get 90 days to see what's going to happen. But the banks, they're so smart. You file a bankruptcy, they're going to give you 90 days. 90 days later, they file another notice of sale. So this is not something that you can go on and on and on. But attorneys, they do whatever attorneys they learn to do. They are not expert in pre-foreclosure, bring money, negotiate, and all of that. So that's why it's very important. And one more thing that I wanted to urge your audience, I'm hoping that brokers and agents also, they're looking at this. A lot of brokers and agents in the past, they caused hundreds of thousands of people, they lose their house because they are not expert in negotiating with the banks.
Right.
So it's better to work with someone who has the experience and the knowledge, so you can, as an agent and broker, make money and save your client rather than, pose as, oh, I'm an expert, I know everything. And there you go, your clients, they lose their property, which is sad.
It's incredibly sad. So let me encourage you to take Michael's advice, take action, don't wait, reach out to him. I'm going to have all of those links in the show notes so that you can, if you're walking the dog or driving or whatever right now, go back to the show notes and reach out to Michael and schedule a call with him, a Zoom call, 15, 20 minutes. He'll be able to assess your situation, give you some direction, and share with you if there's a solution that he can offer. And if you listen to this, he's got lots of solutions he can offer you. So don't lose your house. Don't lose your property to foreclosure. Reach out to Michael, have a conversation, and see if he can help you stay where you are or find a good path moving forward. So, Michael, wow, this has been incredible, very deep information and very hopeful as well for people in a bad place. They can reach out and hopefully find a solution with you, either on that Zoom call or working with you. Thank you for being my guest here.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.